All right, so we're going old school for this one, okay? If you guys been on this channel for a long period of time, you know at the beginning, this is what I used to do. We would just jump on the phone, talk about the San Antonio Spurs no matter where I'm at. So a lot of the videos that you're seeing that came out yesterday, today, and a couple tomorrow, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it that way. But anyways, the recent videos, that's all I'm trying to say, were ones that were pre-recorded, okay? So I just couldn't help myself. I wanted to talk about what was going on right now because I am very impressed by what the Spurs have done. So we can just start with Brian Wright and that whole situation. I think everyone was quite premature when it came to blaming the Spurs for trading away that eighth pick. I was pretty adamant this entire time that I think if you don't believe in who's left on the board and you don't want to invest that money and that time and that development into those players, then don't trade for them. Even though I wanted Modest Buzelis, even though I believed in Modest Buzelis, it was weird that he kept falling. I wonder if he actually just wanted to play for the Bulls. But even though I believed in him and I believed in, maybe another player or two, I don't necessarily think that that means that the Spurs should go all out and, use all of their resources for a player that they don't actually want. So being able to trade away your eighth pick for two unprotected is huge. It's already hard enough with a player that is established in the NBA to get any unprotected picks at all. So that's a big deal that the Spurs were able to do that. Well, technically it was one unprotected, the other one was a swap, but it could very well potentially be some really great picks down the line. And what makes that really special, at least for me, is, well, not just for me, obviously for the Spurs in general, but as a fan, what makes that special is around 2030, 2031, we don't know what the landscape of the NBA is going to look like. But the Spurs definitely prey on teams as far as those teams that are in win now situations. And what could potentially happen is around that time, the Spurs will be giving Wemby another max deal, and you could be adding to the team as you go. Like you could very well go into the draft and get someone that is very promising, or you can use those draft picks and go ahead and bring in some veteran leadership or some other vets that know how to play the game of basketball to just keep piling on this dynasty. So it's really frustrating to me where a lot of Spurs fans that have been fans for a while, mind you, would even question the franchise and what they got going on. But at the same light, say that Sam Presti is a phenomenal general manager, even though the Spurs are doing the same thing. It was very frustrating, very silly. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with the direction that the Spurs are going in. And if they were to pick at number 8 and got Dilly, they wouldn't have been able to get Harrison Barnes and Chris Paul. That wouldn't have been on the tables in the cards. That's not what would have been able to happen. Not only were they able to get Harrison Barnes, but they were able to get Harrison Barnes and an unprotected pick for nothing. Nothing. Because we had that cap space, all we did was facilitate a trade. We didn't give up anything, which is really great. And what I'm also excited about is Chris Paul and Harrison Barnes could also be two players that you could trade, right? Like I don't know if they'll be here the whole time or anything like that, but up to the trade deadline, February, I think that's enough time to help our development and help our guys get better and better, and then you can trade them around that time. Now, one thing that I mentioned before, and I'll just mention it again, is that grabbing Chris Paul and grabbing Harrison Barnes is huge for the development of our players, because while last season, obviously all of us said this, they're a young team, they're still learning. When I would say that, I mostly was mostly talking about Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sohan, Wemby, at times Malachi, but overall, I wasn't really talking about a lot of the other guys that were on the team, right? I was just talking about the core, basically that core starting three, where I'm like, hey, just kind of hold off judgment a little bit, right? But it really does hinder development when you have people on the court that don't really know what they're doing. And if you even watch the French team with Wemby, they're passing the ball, they know where spots they need to be in. And that's kind of what you need. Like Wemby is so good at this point that you could potentially, obviously he's gonna need some talent, but you just get some guys with high basketball IQ and you're cooking. You're seriously cooking. So I don't think the Spurs will be a playoff team, maybe possibly a play-in team. But they manage to get better now and fill some needs that we need right now while also still being in rebuild mode. And that is huge. And I know there's so many people that's like, Wemby won't be here forever. What will make Wemby leave is if you go all out right now, get a few pieces, which this isn't a super strong free agency to begin with, but get a few pieces. You look decent, maybe 8th seed, 7th seed. You lose the next season. You lose in the first round again. And the next season, maybe you possibly squeak in and you lose in the first round again. And then at that point, it's like, oh, it's time to extend them. And it's like, well, does he stay or probably not? And if you don't have a future sitting there with a plan, I mean, that's a good way of losing them. So that's what I think, though. I think the Spurs did a good job of bringing some more veteran leadership and bringing some high basketball IQ players to the team. Harrison Barnes is a good player. Not as great as he used to be, but we don't need him to be as great as he used to be, right? Speaking of a high basketball IQ, segueing into Stephon Castle. And I won't have a lot to say because you guys already know on Spurs Invasion. Follow that channel, by the way. My other channel, Spurs Invasion, I've already talked about Stephon Castle, how I feel about him. But as far as those SGA comparisons and the SGA comparison I made in that video, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I'll be honest with you. I know it's summer league. I know that the competition isn't as great as it will be once he's like actually in the NBA, in the NBA. But man, oh man, those tendencies. That's kind of the big thing. The tendencies that this kid has right now, it will work no matter what. Once he's in the NBA, it's still going to be valuable. He didn't seem shook at all. His 3-point shot looked just as good as it did in high school. He looked like a guy that is going to do all the small things to win. I mean, he had one really huge offensive rebound that resulted in a corner three. Those small things, small details. Defense was phenomenal. Off-ball defense was phenomenal. Playmaking was there. Vision was there. Patience was there. His handles were tight. I mean, this is a guy that I really think that the Spurs. I know he's the 4th overall pick. Okay, let me get that. I know he's the 4th overall pick, but I still think, in a way, he came into this draft very underrated. This dude is something serious. And I mean, we'll get to it as the season goes on. Obviously, we'll watch more and more of his game, but I'm very convinced. What I saw out there was like, you've been here before. This is not a normal rookie. And I love those point guards that are calm and collected. They are huge pieces. And just like Jay Billis said, we went over that video as well, where he said, hey, you look up winner in the dictionary and you're going to find Stephon Castle. So I'm excited, guys. I just wanted to jump on here, tell you my overall thoughts about the past day. I mean, it was really hard to hold that in because, whoo, Spurs doing their thing, man. Spurs doing their thing. We're in a great position right now. So shout out to Brian Wright in that front office. You know exactly what you're doing. Stephon Castle is the real deal. And gosh, yeah, I'm still not over his frame. Everything is perfect. Everything is perfect with this kid. He's still gonna have to get better. He's gonna have his struggles. He's gonna have his woes. He's a freshman. But man, tight handles, 6'6", calm demeanor, good rebounder, good defender. What could you couldn't ask for more in this draft. You couldn't have asked for more. So Spurs did a great job. Just keep it up. I'll get with you guys later. I should be back home pretty soon. I'm not sure because I have so many videos pre-recorded. I think they're relevant, still. They're still relevant, but they're not like news videos. They're more like reaction videos to some of the press conferences and things that came up that I noticed that I thought was pressing or good things to focus on. So I'll think about it. But as it stands right now, I will be back home pretty soon, and maybe we'll go live one of these days to talk about it further, or maybe the Spurs make something else happen. But I'll get with you guys later, man. All love. Thank you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.